Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm so excited. I have Dr. Kim Duramo, a absolute wonderful specialist in the mind-body connection, emergency doctor who has, so we've been talking a lot about some different topics on the podcast recently, particularly about healing. And I have a meditation out about healing, but it's a very complex and nuanced subject. And I wanted to bring on one of the experts on mind-body healing. So it's wonderful to have Dr. Duramo on. Thank you for coming on and welcome to the Reality Revolution, Kim.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for creating the Reality Revolution. I think that you are doing such inspired work. Even just listening, because I found you on your podcast before we met because it came up on YouTube and I was like, I got to connect with this person. I have to connect with him. And then Kyle introduced us and told me, my friend Brian, you've got to meet him, and set that up. And I was like, I know Brian Scott. So it is such an honor to be here with you and contribute on your podcast.
Well, thank you so much. It's really exciting time in medicine right now, because as you went through medical school, right? And so the idea, even though there's part of us that all intuitively know it, as you can say, in medical school, it's kind of frowned upon, the whole idea of the mind-body connection. They teach you in a different way. So they might have said, oh, she's one of those quack doctors, when you have probably had to deal with this perception when you start to deal with the mind-body dilemma, which is what many of us are dealing with. But now as we go along more and more, we're starting to really realize the importance of this connection. And it is one of the secrets to healing, really is. So I wanted to get an idea of your story. You had an autoimmune disease, I believe. And you through that, you came to this realization of the mind-body interaction. So tell everybody a little bit about your story so we can start.
Yeah, it was even before that I had like a big download and a huge awakening where I realized how profound the mind-body connection is and how it physicalizes it. It actually physicalizes what's happening in your body. It creates what happens in your physiology. It changes what's going on.
Right.
I was like, a teenager, and I had always been very, very intuitive, very empathic. I wouldn't have known that at the time. I just knew I could be aware of things that ordinarily you wouldn't be aware of, or know things that people didn't usually know, or hear people think, or just have all kinds of strange thoughts and experiences, like on another dimension, a higher awareness. And I grew up in Boston, and it was a pretty conventional family. My grandfather was a doctor, and I think Boston is still a little bit this way, that the doctor is heralded up on a pedestal, and it's not about, the body healing itself. It's about going to someone else, and they know what's best. And certainly, so this was really foreign to me and what I grew up with. But having had that awakening experience really was very, very scary in ways I can't fully describe.
Yeah.
But it did change my life in really important ways. I became more aware that what's going on physically in the body is driven from consciously. Are we in fear? Are we in a space of, I got to do more, it's not enough? Are we in a space of love and joy, and like something different gets created? I could actually interface that in my own body and feel a very direct awareness of that, like, result with changing my thoughts. Usually there's a gap. It's like a big filter. Right. You have awareness. I'm one with all that is. All is well. And you may or may not be aware that you instantly feel lighter, but you're certainly not going to be aware that you're healing your cancer. For most people, that they're not aware of what's happening in the body. That would be like a way downstream result. But for me, like I said, it was a really scary experience to have the veil lifted and be aware that I'm one with everyone. I am connected with everyone and everything. Be aware that there's this unbelievable power that I can access. And like, I was fumbling around with it. I did not have adeptness with manifesting, or even just allowing my body to be at ease. Like it took
Mhm.
years to kind of
Right.
refine that. But the awareness that we are connected, that we are powerful, that we are creators, that what's happening in the body is a direct, immediate communication, the direct result of the consciousness I'm in. You know, I wouldn't have been able to say it in these words, which still it's not so eloquent even today.
Mhm. Right.
But at that time, like, yeah, I sounded like a crazy person, like really crazy. Plus, I was really scared. So
Right.
I wasn't like at ease with all of this. And it was about, 10 years on and off with severe panic attacks, anxiety, intermittent depression, just trying to suppress this and be like a normal person.
Mhm.
And certainly to hide it because I was medicated, I was put in therapy. Um, my parents didn't know what to do with me. It
Right.
wasn't a spiritually guided thing,
Mhm.
but I did find my way through and thankfully have like mentors or just books that I found or others who were on that same channel. And then later on, like, mentors of other mind body medicine people who kind of helped me know this is real. Oh, we have science for this. The mind and body are connected. Here's what's happening physiologically. Here's what's happening in your genes. And many years later, finding my tribe
Yeah.
and creating my life around that truth.
I've noticed that it a lot of times, as you even say, it's really tied to your emotions. But I have this idea that the more emotional, the more powerful we can be, but it's dangerous because as we are able to feel and express more emotions, we're able to get sicker and sicker if we don't have an idea or control of it. So it's almost like we are our emotions are purposely limited, and as we start to express these emotions, there's that danger if we don't understand or control it that we can make ourselves sick. So there's kind of a interaction between, the person that's not emotional is putting it somewhere else, right? But the person that's too emotional, there's this combination, there's a kind of balance and an understanding with my body and emotion. So help me, because you've been doing
Yes.
this for long.
Okay.
Do you
So
understand?
I
Does
would
that make,
say,
that's a really weird
yes,
question,
that makes
complicated,
a
but
ton of
okay.
sense. So you could see it as like a continuum of like, I shut down my emotions. I'm unemotional. And
Right.
then, oh, I'm riding with every emotion. I'm totally
Right.
swimming with it. I'm uber emotional. And then the thought would be, let me be somewhere in the middle. That's not what's exactly happening when we
Okay.
access our power. The emotions are the response, they are the indicator
Right.
that allow us to be aware of where we're functioning from. Where was my frequency? Am I functioning in truth of I am one with all is well. As
Mhm.
I surrender, more abundance flows to me effortlessly.
Right.
Am I functioning from that consciousness? Or am I functioning from fear? Oh my God, I could lose my job. I could lose my money. I gotta hustle. I gotta do
Right.
this. I'm not safe. Or anywhere along that continuum. When we become aware of our emotions, it will show us, it will reflect where we're functioning from. And
Right.
so for me, the work I've shared and the whole reason I wrote the MindBody Toolkit the
Mhm.
way I did, which we're revising it right now. So it'll be available when we launch it again very soon.
Cool.
I wrote it as like, well, okay, now I have this awareness. What do I do? I'm aware that my body is responding to my thoughts, or, the mind and body are connected. But now what? What do I do with this?
Right.
How do I ignite this? And so I wrote it as 10 ways that you can ignite this power anywhere, anytime within yourself. And so if I can just see like, whoa, I'm so tied in my emotions. I'm like flying into fear, or I've really suppressed, I don't feel anything. That just having that awareness alone has been shown to have a profound effect on the
Mhm.
body. Just the whole piece of like, okay, I'm aware of this. Now what do we do? I'm aware of this. What do I do? It's a problem. No,
Right.
just I'm aware of this. And I remember that my awareness is power.
Right.
So that first step is like, I'm sitting with the discomfort. You might not like it. The
Right.
mind will reel with, no, I got to fix it. Bad stuff's happening. Don't allow that to be, don't jump on that bandwagon.
Mhm.
Just stay present to what is. That first step of awareness is actually what stops feeding the fire
Mm-hmm.
and allows things to begin to rebalance. So from that vantage point of being aware of my emotions, yes, you do want to have emotional awareness. You do want to relax your body and feel more fully. But remember that that's the indicator. That's not the truth of who you are. And if we just become aware, that is
Right.
what allows the shift.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Now, I've been encountering a lot of people that come to me, or I hear about them and I want to help them heal. I'm sure that you've had this. And it's somebody that's later in life that's so locked in, that is just so locked in with their own belief system and emotions. You can see why they're sick. They have some kind of colon cancer and they've given up. A lot of times I get an impression of just this giving up on life, or you can see there. What is, I just want to ask before we go into the other stuff, what do you do for those people that it seems too late, I want to help the person that's 70 years old with the cancer because I believe they can be healed too. I get a lot of these, and it's easy for me to talk to you because you're open-minded to this and you've been aware, you've been thinking about this, you've gone through the journey. Talking to somebody that doesn't believe in this, and then
Okay.
I want to be of service to that person, and it just has this hopeless feeling, like they're just locked into that thought pattern. What do you do in
Okay.
that situation?
So this is huge. And this is the premise of the Be the Medicine work I've done with practitioners.
Right.
As a practitioner, when I'm in that moment and the hopelessness is there.
When I feel their hopelessness or your own
Yes, but you're feeling it, but I actually feel it as my own. There
as my
isn't a
own.
way to perceive or experience anything that isn't done through my own perceptive awareness system.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think, oh, that's their hopelessness or that's their fear.
Right.
If I'm actually feeling it and perceiving through the lens of hopelessness, it's mine. It's for me to shift. And it can take, for me, it's a split of a second. It's already transmuting because I have met the depths of hopelessness in me. It is
Right.
never, in actuality, it's never too late. You know, Anita Morjani
Right.
has an amazing story with like stage 4 lymphoma flooding throughout her body, unlike the hospice end of the end moment,
Right.
and has a massive shift in consciousness. And her physical body, it's transmuted. There's not one
Right then.
single cancer cell in her body. And this is like not hours and hours later. So it is never actually too late from what we have seen scientifically. But the matter that happens is we think in our like society that it's all about, especially, you know, I was an emergency medicine doctor. It's all about saving a life, saving a life. Death is like the worst outcome. You just can't have that happen. But that's not what life's actually about. So even if someone were to get to that point and you're like, that you do the transmutation, they awaken and see and witness the truth of like, oh, I am one with all. There's no
Right.
need for fear. I am meant to live my highest expression, and that's what will feed my body. But like, let's say that the continuum is gone. They're dying. The body's there, and you're like, all right, that's not what's meant to happen. They will cycle into a new consciousness. They don't end. When we
Right.
understand unity consciousness, there's no longer this like urgent drive to avoid death at all costs or to see it as the ultimate enemy.
Right.
And however, usually healing can happen on some level that allows a person to stay alive much longer, even if, like you said, 70 years old with cancer and it feels hopeless.
Right.
If I meet that moment of hopelessness and presence myself and my patient and simply stay open to the awareness of what else is possible here. I can allow the awareness of a treatment, a therapy, a person, or a meditation, like who knows, it could be anything that allows this person to shift.
So I want to go back because what you're saying is really big, and it ties to the law of one. And I even have read some Ho'oponopono practitioners. You're me. I'm you. We are
Yes.
one. So if the sickness in you is in me, so if I can heal it within myself, you're seeing the healing happening in them, is what you're saying. So
You're inviting the healing in
you're
them.
inviting the healing,
They are
which
still
is a
their own
big
conscious.
change. People think, oh, I need to shout out these rays of healing to someone else. And that's not really what's happening. It's you're interacting with that higher self that's also a part of the other self. So do
Yes.
you go now? There's a problem. A lot of healers, you've seen it, will take on the sickness in their own body. They'll start thinking about the sickness of the other, and then maybe they have an expression of some headache or something. You start to you go to from the there's that place that's the healing, and there's a place that's the sickness, and you want to help them, but you bring on this. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
That is a
I'm sure
huge,
it's very
huge,
common.
huge issue. Huge.
Yeah.
When we are quote unquote empathic, meaning super energy sensitive,
Right.
but we're perceiving it in duality, meaning you're separate from me, you're over there, I'm over here.
Right.
You're not whole, I'm more whole. You have less, I have more. I'm going to give to you. I'm going to help you. That's the pathology there.
Right.
And so when I do the work I'm doing, if I were to do it in that consciousness, it depletes me the more it gives to someone else. I take on, whatever, even people say, oh, I want to take on more clients. Don't take on anything. Raise your frequency. Be more whole. Be the medicine. And you will see people come to you and heal. And that is of their own awakening and of their own choice to step into the consciousness you're inviting them into, to step into a consciousness that where disease can no longer exist in their body. So you're inviting them. Yes, you're holding the space. Yes, you're the embodiment, but you're the embodiment of your own wholeness.
Right.
Totally different from your lower, I'm higher, like the hierarchy of medicine. Here's the doctor up here.
Right.
Here's the patient down here. I've got to help them. And so that's why so many doctors are burned out and depleted. So many
They're giving up their
and
energy
workers. Yeah.
I can see
it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It won't work.
It won't. Right. So what we're rampant with, what you're helping to deal with, what we've kind of already mentioned a little bit, is this idea that we hold our emotions in our body. It's a major problem in the West. We can't express our emotions, but they're still there. They don't go away. They go to stay in our liver. The fear stay in our kidneys, stay in our. That is what I've seen the most when I've really tried to help people, because I'm not an expert in healing. I'm reading stuff from people like you and other stuff. And I know hey, do I use magnets through intention and hypnosis? How do I release these emotions? What has been effective for you to let go of those emotions that we're holding in our bodies?
It's the same thing for everyone. And I'm going to share a little nugget for practitioners a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So for all of us, when I meet myself more fully, I allow an unleashing. I am the medicine. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not willing to fully meet myself because the fear is too big, because I think it's bullshit, there's nothing in there anyway, let me just get out and get at it, because I don't have time, because blah, 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 right? I distract, like something comes up, whether it's fear or anger or urgency. I'm not conscious of it, right? Because I'm probably not, someone's going to suppress it. You're not even aware it's coming up,
right? But
you're aware of your go-tos. Boom, I'm going to check my email. Boom, I'm going to go on Facebook. Boom, I'm going to eat chocolate. Oh, boom, I'm going to call my friend. Boom, right. Boom, 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 boom. I'm constantly in reaction. I'm going to do this. I'm going to watch TV. I got to get the next Netflix thing, play a video game, right? So you look, you're like, wait a minute. Is that out of pure joy, or am I escaping something? So just start with curiosity. Just curious. Don't make yourself wrong. What would I be escaping? If it were, what would I be escaping? And you can't know until you look. And the reason why we don't look is because we don't think we can handle it.
Yeah.
Because if I did know, now I need 20 doctors. Now I need 20 therapists. Now I need 20 medications.
Right.
No. If you remember that you are the medicine, you allow your presence to do the work for you.
Right.
You meet your moment of fear. You meet the shame that can be coming up. You meet for me, boredom was big. I know it sounds subtle, but it was such a heavy, difficult energy for me. So many deep hopelessness, right? I don't want to be hopeless. Let me be positive. I got to be positive. So we run. But if we just pause And really it for me starts with like 3 breaths. Right
Right.
now I'm doing, we're in this conversation and I could be on the channel of, I have such important things to say, I've got to just say it. Or I could be willing to be in the pause so that like the now can emerge. What's real can emerge. What's not me and is unknown and is actually infinite can emerge through me.
Right.
Most of us aren't willing to meet that space because it seems so overwhelming. And we're not willing to meet that space because we don't realize how powerful we are. We don't realize like what,
Right.
just sitting with it is actually going to do something? No way. I've got to fight the disease. I've got to go make money. I've got to go find a partner. I've got to learn more and improve myself. We really, it's like just a bumper sticker slogan, right? You are the power, but you're like, yeah, I'll get to that later.
Right.
So if we can presence what arises, start with 3 breaths, soon you may want to take an hour of presence and medicate yourself with an hour of presence a day. You will see powerful things shift. For practitioners, like what you shared, I'm going to do the magnets, I'm going to do the thing, let me help people, right? There
Right.
can be an urgency,
Hmm.
same fear. It
Right.
just comes out in the channel of, but I have to help people, they're suffering, but I have to help people.
Right.
I want to be a good person. And is there urgency there? Because it will greatly limit your impact
Right.
to quote unquote heal people or be assisting their healing if you're in urgency.
Now you've helped heal thousands of people. I'd love to hear some of your big success stories. One of the things that people, when they hear stuff like this, they've heard it before. They hear Dr. Joe, for me, a lot of times the most powerful thing is this stuff really works. People
Yeah.
need to understand this stuff really works. There are miracles happening every day
Yes.
outside of going in to get elective surgery and a lot of the medications that people get. People are healing themselves.
Yes.
So tell me some that touched you.
Okay. I will share first that the most important healing it was to meet myself more fully, and every day,
Right.
in every moment, that is the only thing. I've made that the number one priority because it takes care of my kids, it takes care of my life. Like all of a sudden,
Mhm.
boom, like their school slash pre-K, all their stuff is set.
Right.
Like things can solidify. My life is working, my marriage is better than ever. But I do want to share some amazing stories of what I've seen as a result of like me showing up to myself, meeting my life, and leaving the ER to come and do something that I was like, what am I supposed to be doing in the world?
Yeah.
Didn't make any sense, has come together really very fluidly. So I've now seen people with, I'll give you the most severe, like this one woman with really severe MS who was pretty much crippled, bedridden,
Right.
even to get to go and like use the bathroom had to be assisted, and finally was just in the bed with a bag.
Hmm.
Has healed and is walking around with a walker now and getting up and moving around and going
Amazing.
outside and like walking, bright and vibrant and beautiful.
Yeah.
There was another woman on a feeding tube with severe autoimmune disease. A lot of times there are like multiple diagnoses, severe chronic fatigue syndrome. She also had a lot of anxiety, depression, but her entire digestive system shut down, and she was being fed through a feeding tube. And she allowed something new to come in, like a new consciousness, a new awareness, just to question, not, I'm going to heal myself, let me work hard at it, which
Hmm.
is what she was trying to do,
Right.
but a deeper surrender to something within herself, like to let that in. So used the work as I've shared it, and she, she's completely been off the feeding tube, but out and about, like on a wheelchair, out of bed, getting around,
Awesome.
which was completely unthinkable.
Wonderful.
I've had a lot of people with chronic fatigue syndrome, concussions, brain fog, have a complete turnaround in their lives. Not only return of energy and vitality and brain functioning, but just a new alignment of like, I don't want to be in that corporate job, and something else showed up, and they, stepped into a whole new way of having their living and doing their life, relationship changes, everything that goes along with that. So no matter how severe, or how subtle and minor, like many people living with chronic anxiety got off anti-anxiety medications, chronic depression,
Mhm.
which kind of goes along with it, getting off
Right.
their antidepressants. So this is what I've seen in many more examples. I'm in the MindBody community in Facebook if people want to connect there.
Mhm.
But I know that when we are in our own doubt, it doesn't matter what you hear me say. If I say, oh, this amazing thing happened, your mind will tell you, well, she's full of it. She don't know what she's talking about. This is crap. And like argue for the limitation. And so for each of us as individuals, it's up to us. Like, am I willing to see it differently and just pause and get curious? Or are you going to hop on the bandwagon of the mind and just keep gathering evidence that it's not possible? Because you're going to either way be right. You're going to
Right.
be right. But
Right.
would you rather be right or live in joy? Would you rather be right or be happy? And we each have to make that choice every day, because the mind wants so badly to be right. And I've seen this in medicine where it's really
Right.
hard for doctors to understand there's a new medicine emerging, there's a new paradigm emerging, and that what we learned was real and was, hey, this is all we can do for you and you're going to die, or hey, you're just going to have to live with this the rest of your life. This is a chronic disease. There's nothing we can do, is just not true.
Right. Uh, which is amazing. Now, I've had a few times when I've really wanted to help people that were starting to encounter dementia. It's very complicated spiritual problem, almost like they're in like halfway in and halfway out. Like they're
Mhm.
not as rooted in the world anymore. A lot of people will say, "Oh, it's all genetic." Not the people I've encountered. It was like a giving up on life, a wanting to forget. Some people it was good. I've met people where that forgetting was actually exactly what they needed. But I wanted to get your perspective on that, because I'm seeing
Yeah.
that, and I could blow it by saying the wrong. Sometimes, you worry on something like that. So I wanted to get your perspective on it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, Brian, what's
Hmm.
happening as we as a collective have come into a higher consciousness, which is basically, from the space of I'm separate, life sucks, you gotta eat or be eaten, and every man for himself, and coming to a higher consciousness of, oh, when we connect from the heart, we all benefit. Oh, when I give love, I actually receive even more than I'm given. Like, we're coming higher and higher into
Right.
oneness. um, the collective of that old paradigm of, oh, you just got to fend for yourself, and what are they selling? They just want to sell something. Everybody wants something. You're in that lower frequency where you got to be skeptical and be protected, and you're not accessing a lot of possibility. To come into a higher consciousness is, in a way, a choice.
Right.
For a lot of people, they're allowing it to happen, and maybe it's passive. They're not actively seeking a spiritual path, but they're coming up and they're like, what do you mean? This is how it's always been. Life's fine. For many of us other ones where we're like actively seeking and carving it out. But what that shift is a shift where we are more primarily physical and less vibrational, to now we are more primarily vibrational and less physical.
Hmm.
So wherever we are along that continuum, more vibrational or more physical, will show how easily, fluidly we manifest, how fluid our health is, how the connections and relationships in our lives are a reflection of who we really are, versus, oh, I hate these people. Why do I have to always be with them? But I guess there's nothing I can do. Your life will show you the reflection of where you've been resonating. And what happens in the nervous system is there's no more life in those lower consciousnesses. There's no more life. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not being fed. It's not being fueled. So if you're not like in a frequency or consciousness that's of contribution, insight, inspiration, whoa, that's what you think. Oh, that's interesting. Here's what I think.
Right.
Sharing, connecting, collaborating. The nervous system it can't run on that frequency. It's not receiving more than what it's giving. It gets depleted. It gets wiped out. Can't continue to myelinate and create like the neuron sheets.
Hmm.
Plaques build up, waste products build up in the neurons in the brain. And of course, this shows up on MRI. This shows up when we
Right.
see it, but the process isn't the genetic code dictates this will happen. It is dictated by the consciousness you're in.
It
So you'll
is.
see the same people who, instead of just deteriorating away and like their old, hey, this is how life works and what are you talking about, come forward. Maybe they have children or grandchildren that keep them young. Maybe they learn technology. Maybe they found a passion or a hobby. And they're like, oh, I love in my life. I'm excited about this thing. Let me play with this every day. That their brain works differently. Well, that's not just because people say like you're exercising your brain. It's because you're allowing more fluidity. You're functioning.
Right. So yeah, that it seems to be that some things are a little more complicated than others. But one of the greatest viruses and sickness spreading throughout the world is this hopelessness. It's just this lack of, it really, a lot of times it comes down to just not a joy for life, or rooted in life right now. And so
Okay. This is a big thing because we're trying to escape the hopelessness. And that's a
right,
lot of the be positive movement. Oh no, don't succumb to hopelessness. Be positive. But it ultimately is not, it won't work because
right,
there's not enough power in it, because you're still in duality. You're still buying into the hopelessness and then trying to fight against it and overcoming it.
right,
So what actually allows it to transmute is to embrace the hopelessness that we feel.
right.
The hopelessness only can live in me or nowhere. It's not out there. Nothing is out there. It's a movie projection. So if I sit in front of a patient and they tell me their story of fibromyalgia and sexual abuse and chronic fatigue syndrome, and my husband left me, and the whole victim story,
Right.
I could feel like back when I was training, I would feel the heaviness of like, oh, what on earth am I going to do? How am I going to have this? Is what? There's no way. So it would feel she feels powerless, and I would feel powerless. Like I'm not a good enough physician. I'm not a good enough doctor. So I would buy into it, right? I'd feel the
Right.
heaviness after not so long of training. So this is the benefit of being highly empathic. You realize like, whoa, this feels bad. And what would it take for me to release this? And only compassion, which is love, um, is the medicine that's powerful enough to
Hmm.
let you embrace that degree of hopelessness / powerlessness, and stay present and feel alive. Because that's the thing, like with dementia or really any of these diseases that are these chronic illnesses of deterioration,
Hmm.
what feeds the body is that aliveness. And even if I am fully feeling completely powerless, bottomless pit of despair, but if I do it willingly, I choose to feel this powerlessness.
Okay.
I just now have a completely different experience. One is I have to, I have to deal with this and it sucks and I've got to fix it. And one is, okay, I feel totally powerless. And instead of making it wrong, I choose to feel this powerlessness, because the willingness to breathe it, I breathe in, I breathe out with yes, is the only medicine that can allow it to transmute so that we're free.
So are you expressing it? Because, as I teach, we create a reality. I don't want to sit in an emotion of hopelessness, because I broadcast that out and I'll start to see more hopelessness. I mean, whatever I focus on, I get
Yeah,
more of.
if
So
I'm
are you
sitting,
getting rid of the hopelessness when you do that?
no, if I'm willing to sit in it, but with presence, and I can
Okay.
say, but with
But with presence.
compassion,
Hmm.
but with willingness, that is the medicine.
Okay.
So it's not, I'm just going to spew it out there. Oh, this sucks. And yes, this is what hopelessness feels like. No, I can witness, what am I feeling physically? Oh God, my shoulders feel heavier. My stomach feels like hollow. There's a physical sensation. Tune in. 5 breaths there. Oh, what's underneath that physical? Oh, it feels like I'm scared, or it feels heavy. You'll feel it and you just, let me get curious. Get
Okay.
curious. Presence is the medicine.
Ah, so
It's
you,
so powerful that we overlook it.
so you're feeling their hopelessness in the moment and bringing the presence into it.
I'm feeling my hopelessness
Your hopelessness.
that has been triggered by
Their
what
hopelessness.
she said, what she did, what the story, because she's in a frequency. So that's an electromagnetic moment. She's, you know, my patient, she's carrying it, but for her, it's real. It's physicalized in her body. It's physicalized in her money. Her man left her. No one wants to talk to her. It's real, but it's also electromagnetic. So it can bring that, you know, that field, right? Like you feel it.
Right.
And so if I meet what I'm feeling, I am now an electromagnetic space of light. I am now an electromagnetic space of harmony, even if I'm still feeling it, but it's still here. Yeah, but am I still willing? Am I still in compassion? Am I still allowing? Okay, that's enough. It will transmute, and it's only a matter of how many breaths. Is it 10? Is it 100? It's transmuting. Sometimes you're transmuting eons of hopelessness, but you are clearing the space for yourself and your patient and all of humanity.
That makes sense to me. So how do you integrate the concept of diet? Are there certain diets that work against the mind-body interaction? Or is it irrelevant? We are placing, I mean, there's a part of me that says if what you're saying is true, then the diet is irrelevant, but perhaps not. Is the mind attracting certain foods? Hey, I want to get healed. Then the mind starts saying, hey, these foods are going to be healthier for you. We know on some level that food does create our body. So tell me how you integrate those concepts.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Since I'm talking to you, everyone who's listening, just presence your body and breathe, because the mind can freak out about these ideas and really reject them. And so just see if you can relax your body and get curious. It does become irrelevant. Okay, I will say that. And I learned this in residency. You know, I had a big problem with gluten and pizza, and like they had this lunch, and I was on call and I forgot my food. And I knew I was going to be up all night long. It was like maybe noon on that Tuesday, and I was going to be up till, you know, maybe 4 o'clock the following day, Wednesday, going, like really high gear. And I forgot my food. And I was very attached to the whole food thing. And I've got to make sure to manage my diet here and have the right energizing foods. But this was like, what are you going to do? You're going to starve yourself, which I know is not going to work. Or you're going to embrace the frickin' pizza. And I had to get super neutral in neutrality with the pizza, right? Like cheese and the grease and the, who even made this? And the bread was like, oh, not the bread. You know, that brain fog. And it was like, Kim, receive this pizza, like the body of Christ. Receive this pizza and let it nurture you. Receive this pizza and may it energize you. May it fuel you through all of your shift and all of your call, and that you feel amazing and you're inspired and you're clear and you move forward and receive this. And because I was willing to receive it, you know, that's exactly what happened. I felt amazing. I had clarity. I was fueled and energized the whole day. When we open to receive, instead of being in judgment/rejection, that's what the body can do. Doesn't mean that I'm like, I'm going to eat pizza all day because I'm in neutrality. Like, that's not the frequency I live in either. Because sometimes people will say, well, if you're telling me that I don't have gluten allergy anymore because of the mind body, well, I'm just going to go out and I don't have to worry about gluten anymore. But if you're trying to prove something to yourself, that's not the same frequency either. That lets the body be clear. So everyone, you know, we're not always ready for that, but what's here? Is it going to be like a major stress for me to micromanage my diet? And no, I can't eat that. I have to have this. When I go to dinner at someone's house and like they're cooking whatever, I'm like, I'm going to receive with love. I'm going to receive my moment and be open and say yes. So see if like, whoa, am I in judgment with food, or am I in neutrality/love with food? And you'll let some of that stuff with food change. But yeah, food has a frequency. You know, I just ate an organic pear. I love eating this organic pear. It's juicy. It's delicious. That's what I enjoy. It's not out of, I really should eat an organic thing because that's good for me. So when you neutralize your relationship with food, it's a lot easier.
Well, we're definitely eating our thoughts. There's no doubt when we eat, we're eating our thought of that food, and that may be more important than the food itself.
And it's been shown to be. We have
Right.
diabetic patients who have like super sugar sensitivity, and we have them in states of love, in states of joy, you know, bringing them back 30 years like they were 18 years old again. There's
Hmm.
studies where they do this. You know, everything changes in their physiology, not just their perception of like pain and their energy level, but their actual like insulin level, blood sugar level, strength and capacity, resilience and flexibility in their joints. Like your body is responding.
When you're talking about the presence, part of that is listening to your body. Is am I right? There's an aspect of it that we're just ignoring the signals of our body. That's but there, but if we're listening, the body's telling us, hey, exactly what we need to do. Am I right with that? What's your
Yes.
perspective on that?
And we sometimes, it's almost like we haven't had a choice because we've bought into the idea that we're powerless. So you're like, well, shit, I
Right.
can't manage all of that. It's like, just keep the baby quiet and let's do our life and survive. But if you realize like, whoa, there's wisdom, my body is asking for what it needs, it's trying to communicate, and I do have all I need to meet it so that I'm in wholeness. If I remember that I have all I need, I can let it come up a
Right.
lot more willingly. But if I still think I'm limited, boy, is that a scary thing to do.
So I have one of my best friends in the world is extremely obese, and it's gotten worse. And when I talk to him, to me it feels like he has lost hope. He doesn't feel like he can serve. It's just a giving up type of thing. There's a part of him, it's like a slow suicide almost. And he does not believe like we do. He doesn't meditate. He doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
uh I can pray for him. I can. Uh, so a lot of times, the one prerequisite with some of your patients has to be some level of belief. When they refuse, I don't know. So how help me to
Okay.
help my friend?
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I want to help him. I love him to death, and I want to help him. And I help. I feel like what I've done obviously hasn't helped. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Here's the
what
thing.
can I do?
Every single person listening to this podcast has that person in their life. Every one of us
Right.
who is really not in this conversation at all, and
Mm.
that we care so deeply for. So what happens, Brian, is what comes up in you referent to him, what comes up in you referent to his shutdown slash
Mhm.
hopelessness, or what you calling his death wish, or what did you call it, like a slow
A slow
suicide?
suicide. Right.
All right, what arises in you?
I can relate to where he's coming from if I was in a particular situation as his.
Yep.
But I can also relate why I'm not in a similar situation physically.
Yeah,
And I
which
see
is
the
all, that's
duality
all
that
mind.
it's all
That's
mind.
all mind. So
Right.
go here. What do you actually feel that has this even be a thing that you brought it up at such an important moment? Like this freaking matters.
My only feeling is that I love him, and I wish I could help him. The feeling is just a love. Is basically what I feel is my love for him and concern.
Yes, I want to get to that because this is
Concern
not the same
is,
thing.
of course, I'm concerned because he's my friend, and
Yes, so this is
I
where you
don't
want
want
to
to
go.
wake up tomorrow and
Yes.
he's chosen to move on.
Okay.
So
So because we're in this conversation, we'll go there, okay? Because this is actually huge.
okay, good.
Okay. There's, if there really is just love for him and nothing else,
Right.
not judgment or even preference about what he chooses A or he chooses B,
Hmm.
pure love, then I am in my wholeness unconditionally. He's free to choose this, and he is absolutely just as free to choose that.
Hmm.
Where you're resonating isn't actually that level of unconditional presence slash love referent to this friend. There's a really strong preference, which isn't just about love slash wholeness. It's about, I don't want to meet the pain of that loss.
Yeah, of course.
So wherever you're in resistance,
Mm-hmm.
like, let's see it, Brian, take a few breaths, because this is really important for people to get. Okay. So just feel your love for him. Okay. What would it take for you to embrace that this is his choice? This is the way he's playing it out.
I've
And for you
embraced
to
that.
actually love him enough
Right.
to embrace even this.
I have embraced that, but still, I care about the love that I have wants him to continue, and I see the light in him, and I know that the potential of his light is amazing. And
Yeah.
even if that's his choice, if he chooses
Yeah.
the slow suicide, and that's how it ends up, I will love him just the same. But it. I will have a sadness because of the potential and what I know for him would have been
So that's
incredible
loss.
joy and would have
Yeah.
been something wonderful. It's like if we
This is
saw
big.
Michael Jordan on the playground playing basketball, and then he never chose to play basketball, I would still love Michael Jordan, but I would have the knowing that I see that he could have been this great basketball player. I will have a sadness because of what could never have been. And with
Okay.
him,
Here's the
he's
thing
one of
that
the
comes
most
up.
intelligent and loving people, and hey, I'm gonna always have that thought. So
This is big. And if you want to be the power of
uh-huh.
what could possibly awaken him
Right,
without attachment,
without attachment.
you've got to come to a place to see, witness, and experience the greatness in him unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
Witness and experience the Michael Jordan in the fullness, whether it's actualized in the physical realm or not. And B, which is what creates A, release the idea that he's a physical being.
Right.
That's not who he really is. If we had more awareness that like we're in a virtual reality game and that's your friend, the awesome Michael Jordan of the whatever,
Right.
and he's doing the game as like this avatar with like one leg who will never play basketball, and you're like, oh, cool, I know who you are. I see the greatness of you. I suffer no loss in the connection of who you truly are when your avatar ends. And no judgment or preference about how you play it. You should have the experience you choose. You're going to have this experience where you swim down the slow suicide. All right, rock on. That's an experience, and I can celebrate that just as much as I celebrate this other aspect.
But I know when I talk to him, that is not his choice. He wants to change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's the choice he's
consciously,
making right
maybe.
now.
That's what
That's
he
the
says. Hey,
choice.
I want this to change. I know that I've gotten, but I can't get out of my chair now. I can't
Yeah, but
even do any exercise any. I can't. My knees hurt too much to even. What can I do, Brian? And right. I know when he's verbally telling me that's not what he wants. I'll accept that, and I know that he's that, and I've had those thoughts, but I don't know if I can do much else. So except just to love him, which I will. But
it's bringing up deeper spaces in you.
sure. Anytime I
And
think we
these,
heal or talk or think about healing somebody, it's always going to bring up a deeper space in me, right? Because
and if you can meet that space,
right.
you let something transmute, that opens up more of an invitation for him.
Okay. All right. I think I understand that.
But it's a space in you, just like you said in the beginning of this session, you're me.
Right.
So I had the exact same thing in my life. A
Mm-hmm.
person I loved so deeply who just wasn't ready and wanted it and would ask me all the time and tune into my work and
Right.
ask me, but not actually choosing it. And it brought up a lot for me. And finally, and like even like really heavy feelings of like disgust and loathing, like there were a lot of energies he embodied of self-loathing, shame.
Right.
And when I'd be with him, I'd feel that and just like, ugh, I don't want to be with this person. And this has been years and years and years of this person in my life. And it's come full circle into me becoming aware of where have I not met that same shame in myself, because it wouldn't trigger me. It would just be him doing him.
Right.
But it really triggered me. And it triggered me, yes, out of love and wanting so much more for him. But it also triggered me out of like, come on, man, are you freaking gonna take the step, or are you gonna meet this, or are you gonna like step up, or are you gonna keep just dancing around? So frustration,
Right.
I was frustrated. And that, you can imagine me meeting that as a practitioner, like, come on, everybody, are you going to step up or aren't you? Like,
Right.
that's not the compassionate practitioner I'm here to be. That's not the power I'm here to be.
Right.
So I met a lot in myself with this one person and finally saw where I was still in judgment of myself or in shame, not willing to meet the depth of shame and fear of failure that I carried, because he can only trigger stuff in me.
Right.
If I feel anything other than complete love and compassion, because there's millions of people walking around like this person doing the same thing, and there's nothing. Hey, that's fine. That's okay.
I mean, I can relate. I can understand the satisfaction that food brings, and just be relaxing and sitting and doing nothing. I have already had even discussed with him. I get where you're coming from. I understand why you're, and he says, yeah, but just
you can only invite him by being more whole yourself.
Right.
And the very point to meet that wholeness is in your desire for him to change. Because your desire for him to change, I get that it's, but that's love, but it's not the exact higher frequency of pure love and acceptance of all that is.
Now, is there any physical exercises? I'm a big fan of Qigong, and I try to, I exercise every day. Sometimes it's a balance between weights and just yoga. But in your experience, when we're dealing with mind body, is there a particular exercise program or things that it can help to improve someone come in contact with their mind, improve that mind body connection?
Yeah, so I have a tool called the instant elevation technique, where, I had this own process of clearing, being present in my body, breathing, releasing fear. And I sort of broke it down into these 3 steps so I could teach it to other people and have them be able to do the same embodiment.
Right.
So it's very simple. It's A, B, C. And the first piece, A, is awareness. And so just relax your body and become aware right now of what you're feeling in your body. Relax your belly, relax your hips, let yourself really arrive, relax, release, surrender into the physical experience fully. This is hard for a lot of people to do.
Right.
So practicing little by little, it's just a little check-in. Hey, body, how you doing? What's going on? Where are we? Just with curiosity. So that's the first step is awareness. And I expand on that. There's videos I have and stuff like that on my YouTube channel. But that alone is actually, even if you just did that one thing, will bring you much deeper and allow a lot of the healing to come in. But the second piece is to shift your breathing. When we breathe in a stress pattern, we breathe into the upper chest. We use our neck muscles. We actually shift our nervous system. So we're more in the fight or flight mode, more in the physical, less in the vibrational. When you're fighting from the tiger, you want to anchor into the physical world as much as possible and find the next tree and run like heck to get up there.
Right.
So you want to actually shift out of that to allow the expanded moving into the vibrational, and allow access to more power and potential. So shifting your breathing is a really powerful way to do that. So if you just put your hands on your belly and let the breath come all the way into your belly, into your pelvis, inhale, let the belly expand. And then exhale, let your belly sink in. And if there's a lot of tension in the body, that may be hard to access. So I tell people, relax your shoulders, relax your shoulders. Just that one thing also helps shift that nervous system fight or flight trigger and come more into the healing response, the parasympathetic nervous system, taking care of harmony and restoration in the body. So relaxing your shoulders allows the breath to come to the lower part of your lungs and allow the movement through your belly and your pelvis. A lot of energy moves, like emotions. And if you just keep bringing a lot of presence to your hips, Brian, and relax your body, it'll let you access even more and more power you bring a lot of energy in your head. And
I
I've
do.
been like that my whole life too.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the third piece is C, which is conscious choice. This is the least relevant, but it's where most people spend most of their time. But you can simply say, may I perceive peace instead of this? Or may I allow the greatest possibility for myself and my friend? Or may I be at total ease and health?
Mhm.
That would be your conscious choice. And there's many other things. I've got a lot of videos where I play with that a little more creatively,
Right.
but ABC is, if you just develop that like 10 minutes a day, you can access it in each moment, like while you're with your family or at work or driving your car or like in the podcast. And what it does is it shifts your electromagnetics. Yes, it can help you feel better. You come into a different physiology, different brain activity, different nervous system activity. But what's really, really fascinating is you immediately shift your electromagnetics. And that is the
Mhm.
thing that the world, the universe, the material world, people around you are responding to most powerfully. We
Yeah.
think, oh, let me just be super smart and look good and say the right thing and it's going to move the mountain. But that's not what moves the mountain. It's something much deeper and much more subtle. So
Right.
this is the way I've found, just to slowly begin to access that more.
Very, very cool. So I talk a lot on my channel about chakras and energy centers in the body. And so any discussion of the MindBody Toolkit has to at least deal with those systems, even philosophically, where they're located, what they intend, what they mean. Tell me about how do you ignore it, or do those play a role in your process?
I have seen that when we shift our frequency, which we kind of just did with that little tool, if you played along, and if you
Right.
didn't, just take a breath now and relax your body. That will increase your frequency and it will affect every cell in your body and all of your energy centers. And sometimes we want to specifically access like where we've held fear, where we've held identity, where we've held just old perspectives, old ways of seeing things. And then it can be really helpful to specifically bring our awareness into these different areas of the body and different energy centers. So in the work I've done, I guide people through, bring your awareness to the top of your head,
Hmm.
breathe and relax, allow in light. It goes beyond the mind, because we think, what do I do? Do I do it right? How do I bring in light? What does that mean?
Right.
But you're surrendering to your higher consciousness, and your wisdom of your body already knows how to let go of the old perspective / energy and how to allow a new alignment in those energy centers. So if
Hmm.
you just bring light, focus on your third eye chakra, take 5 breaths, let the light in, let everything that's not serving you go. Bring the light down to your throat chakra. You can do it this way in a systematic way. And it can be helpful. Like you could just do a general, take some breaths,
Right.
let light in, but doing it in a more specific way can really kind of get into the nooks and crannies of where we've held energy that's not serving us, or
Yeah.
the idea of like, oh, come on, man, I really love you. I want you to stay around. Why can't you see your greatness? And like this little nugget of frustration of like, this is bringing a lot for me. Like, I'm pretty fired up about this. What is it in me that's being reflected in him that I could allow to release and allow something higher to come in? And you will see the shift in your friend.
Right. Okay.
So that can be helpful to play with the energy centers specifically that way.
All right. Uh, so we've talked about some different techniques and breathing, and uh, there's so many other things. One of the more popular things in the healing community that I've read about is healing hands, is using our hands as devices of healing. Have you explored that or seen that in any way?
Oh yeah, I was trained in osteopathic medicine where we use our
Hmm.
hands and put your hands on the body and you feel really subtle things. So you could feel big things like cervical spine is out of position or this is going on
Hmm.
in a rib. But when you study it more subtly, you it's freaking mind-blowing how much I
Yeah.
learned to perceive in the body. And I used to have really, really cold hands, like Raynaud's, and just like they'd get cold all the time. So
Yeah.
if I touch a patient, they'd be like, oh, your hands are so cold. And as I would start practicing and like get present to my body and to what I was sensing, not only with my hands on their body, but with my awareness on their body, my
Hmm.
hands would heat up like a hot plate, like freaking
Oh,
hot
wow.
hands. So I know there's a lot of energy that's moving. And I've had people put their hands on me. In fact, I remember one time I was at a course, it was like a transformational course. And there was this woman there who suffered severe pain, fibromyalgia, pain through her whole body.
Hmm.
And we were holding hands through this one exercise. And I was just beginning to understand the power I was letting come through in my work. And she said, as I held your hand, I stopped having pain in that arm. I stopped having pain in that shoulder. I stopped having pain in my chest. I have no pain in my whole body.
Right.
And I thought, holy cow, what happened?
Yeah.
But she knew and I knew there was something really powerful happen. So we can let things come through the body, and we can also act non-locally to gosh, Brian, there's so much you can allow to transmute for your friend. This is really coming up a lot for me.
Yeah.
We can talk about this later, but I can feel in you where this has resided, like just whether it's your relationship with the physical body in general,
Mhm.
it can bring up a lot, like things we never even considered before that we're ready to let go of. But working non-locally, like you can feel your friend right now. You
Oh,
can feel
yeah.
your love for him right now. And we've seen scientifically that we can have really powerful effects on people non-locally. You know, they've done
Right.
studies. Larry Dossey is an MD physician who did lots of really cool studies on this with healing, but also with just like transmission of consciousness, where they'd send information to these people and they do the drawings and they
Right.
come up with these, you know, these specific kinds of drawings, whether it was a certain animal or certain colors. And they did the transmission, and then the people were supposed to like fax it back. But what happened was the download came through and they did these drawings and they're like, we did these last night.
Right.
It like
Backwards in
transcended
time.
space
Right.
and time.
Right.
So really strange things that they did with these experiments to show like we're not separate physical beings. We are connected. And when we remember that, we can let ourselves have much more non-local effects. That's the work I've been doing with practitioners in the Be the Medicine work is about that. It's about like, how do I let myself operate that way when it seems so weird? How
Right.
do I create a business and like let there be an exchange when I don't know how to charge for this, or I don't know what to call it, or is this a real thing, or am I just making it up? How do I let myself have those gifts come through, but in a structured way that I can clearly explain and that others can choose, and that I can like let myself be free to be this. Oh, I thought I was just like an accountant, but now I'm like, am I a healer? What am I?
Right.
There's a lot that's coming through for so many in humanity that we're awakening beyond those identities of, well, I'm a doctor, I'm supposed to do this, or I don't have a degree, I can't do that, to wow, I haven't even met who I really am or what's possible, what might I allow to be created.
Right. Well, yeah, I was reading Lynn McTaggart the other day, Intention Experiment. She talks about that statistical study where they had tried to heal somebody in the past, sort of as a way to disprove the study, but it worked. There was a statistical correlation when they had um, prayed to heal somebody in the past. That person was actually healed. They gave them a random study. So I do think, yeah, we might be able to heal people in the past too. That all of it is fascinating. I think the stuff we're going to find out is going to be so mind blowing. We can't even fathom it eventually.
Yeah, and it will necessitate the creation of an entirely new system of medicine. Like people talk about healthcare reform. There's no way for any of that to come through the current structure
No.
for obvious reasons.
Hmm.
Like there's just people can't even get your head around like, what?
Right.
That how do I bill for that? But to let it come through individuals and we collaborate together and support each other with our own awareness is something that could happen very quickly.
So I get the impression that it perhaps in the future we might realize that aging is just another sickness.
We
It's
have
just
actually
another
realized
sickness,
it.
right?
It's already been shown. We have
Right.
actually shown that that can be reversed, and that that's a product of our own mind, our beliefs, our
Yeah.
perception, or the idea that this is supposed to happen. And so therefore, and a study called, what was the name of it? There's a book called Counterclockwise that was
Hmm.
written with all these really cool studies where they brought people back in time. So they're watching movies from when they were young. They've got like images in the camp that they went to, music that was on from when they were young, like a lot that, you know, brought them into the mindset in the space. And their physiology changed, you know,
Right.
they're in very quantifiable ways that were completely objective, that they saw, you know, like I mentioned before, that resilience in the joints, increased range of motion,
Hmm.
you know, changes in their blood work.
Yeah. I've even
So,
read about studies with people with multiple personality disorders. When they enter into a different personality, they might have some sickness with the other personality, but instantly there
yeah,
it's completely different.
eczema, severe brittle
Right.
diabetes, where your body like doesn't make it, can't make insulin. To like, boom, there's this other personality who makes insulin no problem and can eat sugar. Like that is something that defies the current understanding of medicine and the human body. Hey, well, it's actually happening. So for me as a doctor, I've always taken it as my responsibility to find out how, why, how do we tune into that? How do we invite
Right.
that kind of feeling, instead of like, well, let me disprove this because it doesn't work. And yes, you will find when you stay in that continuum of primarily physical, less vibrational, you're on that end. Yes, you're right. You are right. It won't work.
It won't work.
But what will work is to increase your frequency, increase the frequency of yourself for the purpose of inviting others who are coming to you open and willing to receive, to come into a higher frequency as well. You know, and when your friend is ready, which can only come as he feels unconditionally loved and accepted, he can receive lots of things.
Right. Well, this has just been an exciting discussion, and it really changed my perspective of healing, because you're right. I've been in this duality where I'm healing that person, but they're separate from me. Even when I psychologically understand the oneness and talk about it all the time, it's natural, even reactive for me to always look at the other person as separate. And so thank you for enlightening, and I'm going to change and start really looking at how, when I'm talking and thinking about these things, to look within myself first before I look for anything else. And I think that's going to be transformative. I understand it. It makes sense to me. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, it's so much easier to put it over there and reject it. And it's so, oh, it can be so uncomfortable to
Right.
meet those
I don't want
spaces.
that to be a part of me. No, that can't be me. But
Yeah.
uh, pretty tough for a lot of people to embrace that flaw, that problem is within me.
Yeah. For me, only when my greatest heart's desires, like we're on the other side of that,
Right.
like I can't have the love I really want, the joy I really want, the success I really want, the passion. I can't have it unless something changes in me. And then it was like, all right, I surrender. What needs to happen here? I'm willing to go deeper in myself beyond what I can imagine, even though I don't know how, even though I don't think it matters. It's like when you put your greatest inspiration, it will move the mountain, because you'll do anything. You'll do anything to really meet yourself, the greatness in you that you don't even know exists, but is like the opposite of all that pain. Like the pain is only an indication of how you've
Right.
walled yourself off to your own greatness.
Well, thank you so much. I wanted to mention that you have a uh, class coming up. It's called the Be the Medicine. It's going to be starting in October. It's a workshop. It's a free workshop on August 20th. And
Yes.
the
It's,
course can be found at, go ahead,
no, sorry, I didn't know if you had the link.
drkimd.com/BTM. And people can get more information from you. I'll put a link to your YouTube channel on this interview, and also drkimd.com.
Well, the workshop is free, and it's at drkimd.com/workshop. And
Okay.
it's a free, like a deeper dive into the technology of your energy body and how to work
Wonderful.
with it, to heal others, quote unquote, but it's really about, you're about yourself, opening
But
yourself.
right.
So you can
Well,
come
that's
join
so
me.
exciting, and I can't wait for everybody to access that and check. And I'm definitely going to be going on your channel and learning more, because I think this is in a time now. One thing that we really haven't discussed on this whole episode, the whole world is dealing with this mind-body interaction with COVID-19. I'm sure that you've already dealt with clients that have dealt with this, or are worried about it, or fearful about it, and so there's a reason I didn't talk about that, because anybody that, they can turn on their Facebook feed and they're going to find a thought. But what do you have to say when you're dealing with the mind-body interaction, and how we deal with, hey, I'm going to turn on the news and it's going to tell me I need to all the different things about the virus and how the vaccine is coming up, and it's fearful, it's scary. My reaction to it is different. I want to know what is a good place for me to start looking at this.
Okay. It's always a matter of love or fear. Will I live from love, or will I live from fear? And all we need to do is just ask, is this true for me? Oh, you have to do this and you have to do that, or it won't be okay and you'll die, or you'll this, or you're that, or you'll lose.
Right.
Oh, is that true for me? Your system, if you just do a few breaths to connect, because that's the essential, A is the essential ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
You can know that. You can know, like, that's not necessarily true for me. I'm going to go in this direction. You can make a new choice and have more awareness. So if we're not connected, right, because we're in fight or flight, we're in fear, we're just in a big scramble. We can't know. We can't. It's like, I don't know if it's true. Is it true? Maybe it's not. This one's saying it's true. We're living in fear. Well, the mind can't know that. But from the heart, we can know all things. Mm-hmm. You can know, and you can even without knowing, move toward, like, oh, I just happened to eat lots of vitamin D and I'm, that helped my immune system. Things can happen for you that go beyond your consciousness. And if you just ask the space, what would it take for me to be in total resilience with all that is, you'll have a much smoother path. You'll connect with your knowing, and you can move through this pretty fluidly.
Yeah, you get the impression when I read about people that have really struggled or died from it, it sounds like it's an emotional thing. There's a fear, maybe the fear overtook them.
Well, we do
the
see
response,
fear.
the immune system response that's happening. It's not necessarily, it seems like it's maybe even psychological on some levels that's going on.
It's powerful. What we have seen medically that is not debated is that in fear, your immune system is just shot.
True, right.
So you can do things, yes, support yourself, take care of the things that, feel right for you, but stay in your resilience above all else. Because as soon as you start to buy into fear, now you are susceptible. Now you are inflamed. Right. Now you are triggered. Your immune system is weak. You're much more likely to have medical problems. Right. But if you can, and that's not a subtle thing, it's actually a very, very powerful response. So this is not the 2%. This is the 99.98%. Right. What the power of your immune system and your own wisdom of your body, it just trumps anything we've ever seen with any medication ever created. So put a little intention in there of, I choose to presence myself today. I choose to be present to my fear and breathe it and willing to be where I am right now.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everybody can check out your channel and your book, the MindBody Toolkit, and welcome to the Reality Revolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm just really excited today because this is the first day that my book is released. This is it, the Reality Revolution. Worked on this for a very long time. So many of the things that I discovered along the way, and I was excited to share it with everybody. Tell you a little bit about it. I'm like everybody else. I'm interacting in the world and starting to realize that My thoughts created reality. As I did this, I started to see some major shifts in my reality. I started to explore the idea of maneuvering through parallel realities. I'm your host, Brian Scott.